Welcome back to the Masters Tour here in Bucharest, where we have got one more game to bring you this round. It's going to be Furyhunter versus zlofany. The score is currently 1-0, with Furyhunter taking an early lead. And we've just been looking through the lineups over the last few seconds. It looks like Furyhunter has something a little bit different. He's already won with his N'Zoth Priest, leaving him with Aggro Shaman remaining. Yeah, that's pretty standard. But Highlander Hunter, which is not something we've seen that much of at all in this tournament.
Yeah, we've seen a little bit. It's a fringe deck that we've seen here and there. I think all of the kind of mid-rangey aggro Highlander decks have been kind of fringe picks. Generally, people do like to lean on them a little bit because they have a reasonable matchup against Druid. They can be competitive in some regards against the decks that get quick on the board, like the two power decks, Shaman and Priest, for example. So I think a lot of the lineups will feature one or more Highlander decks. It's just which ones those end up being. We've even seen Highlander Rogue coming out in our previous series from Hypno. Highlander Hunter is a deck that I do like, but I prefer vastly either of the versions that don't play the secrets, whereas Furyhunter is going with the secrets version here, which I think the win rate of that deck falls off a cliff when you start to get towards the top level of play, because secrets are a lot more powerful when your opponent is bad at playing around them. Sure. By which I mean both giving too much credit to, or playing into the wrong secret and just activating a trap and it just goes off and blows you out, but also the opposite of that, where I think bad players will just, a secret comes down, they're like, oh, what if it's Rat Trap, and just never play 3 cards for the rest of the game, whereas a good player will understand how to call that out on a lot of situations.
Zlofany's lineup is even stranger though, as you can see straight away, this is actually the aggro warrior build, not even the Highlander version, but just the plain old sort of deal as much damage as you can, use this Bloodstorm Mercenary, see if you can hit Leroy and just hit your opponent in the face.
Yep. And then he's backing that up with Zoo as well, which is not a deck that we've seen a great deal of. Warlock actually one of the lowest win rate classes in the entire tournament right now, and really not being that heavily represented. So seems like for the players that have brought it, it's not even being that sleeper pick that sometimes an underrepresented deck or class is. Like, it has just been performing poorly. But zlofany here, even with what I would consider a fairly poor-looking lineup, is clearly having a lot of success with it at 5-1. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, look at the start as well, getting that Mercenary down immediately to double up on the Wasp. And already, this is a board that Furyhunter might struggle to deal with a little bit.
It is, but it's also the kind of board that Shaman eats for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like, yes, it's I almost question the idea of going Bloodsworn Mercenary there. Like, I understand it's the absolute giganuts. Like, you play your Bloodsworn on 3, that's the idea of the deck. But leaving 2 4-1s in particular on a big wide board like that, you're almost asking to get like Voltaic Burst Mogu Sea Gianted or something on the turn that's coming through on the other side. Like, this Shaman deck, even though it's an aggressive deck, even though it is a tempo deck, it's quite similar in some regards to Token Druid that we saw in previous metas, where it's happy to be behind turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, and then it just plays all its cards in one turn and you can't beat it anymore.
The Mutate didn't exactly work out for Furyhunter there, getting an 8-mana 4/4, but Furyhunter did follow that up with the Titanic Lackey, giving it the 2-health buff, making it quite a lot more difficult for zlofany to deal with. Livewire Lance could come into play here, maybe to back up a Wasp and deal with the minion while getting a Lackey, or just Restless Mummy on its own. That's going to deal with a 4/6. Yeah,
I think there was some merit to Livewire Lance there, but not enough to convince zlofany to float mana, essentially. I think it's just too painful there. If he didn't find a perfect Lackey, then he might have just had an inefficient turn, so I think turn 4, plays 4-mana card. He also successfully played his 3-mana card on turn 3, so he's doing just fine this game.
I mean, yeah, it looks bad with these Wasps, obviously, just being traded into very efficiently, but he did manage to get the 8 damage to the dome there, and now with the Evolve pickup, things get a little more complicated for Furyhunter.
They do, because there is a serious risk-reward thing here on exactly how many of these he wants to be 4-drop versus how much extra health he needs by trading off these minions.
Okay.
I think this ends up being the right decision, though.
Oh, there's that Celestial Harbinger again.
Jacklick is the absolute nuts here, though. Lifesteal Taunt, when like I was saying, his risk there was that he just left the opportunity for zlofany to go face and just ignore the minions that he had. But yes, Harbinger Celestia just turning into a Town Crier there is also completely miserable.
At least I knew the name that time, I just knew it backwards. called it the Celestia Harpy.
Okay.
No tomb can hold me.
At this point, zlofany might just divert. Like, sure, he'll just continue to be aggressive where he can, but it's almost looking like he can just grind Furyhunter out of this one now as well. Just going to check Furyhunter's list in terms of his Shaman spells, because not many of them go up to the 3-cost spell, and Furyhunter's does not either. I know some players do like a Feral Spirit in that spot, so that their 2-mana spells actually draw a card off the Spirit of the Frog.
Well, funnily enough, zlofany's Shaman list actually even runs Haunting Visions.
Yes.
So if it were the other way around, it would look a little better for the Shaman. But as you said, Furyhunter very much running out of stuff here, and as it stands, he can't actually deal with that Frothing Berserker. You can make a big board of stuff.
Yes.
It's not good stuff. And Bloodlust wouldn't even be enough damage to end the game here anyway.
Nope. It would certainly give him the board back next turn, though, if he picks up a Bloodlust.
True.
Because I imagine this is going to be Kobold Lackey Soul of the Murloc this turn, and then I think zlofany's only real justifiable response to that is just suit up damage and go face.
Yep.
Six, 10, 12. Cruel Taskmaster adds 3. 15 this turn minimum.
Yeah, I don't believe there's any cheap rushes available for Towncry to pick up now, as both Wasps have been oh no, actually only one Wasp has been used, right? Yeah, it was doubled up. So picking up a Red Band Wasp would increase the Frothing Berserker's damage by a further 2.
Okay. He's already spent 3 mana at that point, though, unfortunately, so then he can only Korkron. And the Cruel Taskmaster represents more damage added than the Red Band Wasp would anyway.
True. Another option, I guess, is start clearing the board. Use the Wasp and the Cruel Taskmaster to deal with one of the 1/1s, and then the 1/1 that comes out of the Death Rattle.
Sure.
Use the Lance to deal with another one.
Yeah, okay. I kind of had in my head that trading was illegal this turn, but I guess it's actually fairly reasonable to just clear some of this up.
Completely out of stuff.
Right. Like, I mean, you're not going to full clear, but like the reason why I think trading is a lot more justifiable than I would have maybe thought at first is because you're getting all the damage back from trading on this Frothing anyway, and then just being able to shift that face.
Yeah.
So it does seem very reasonable. And like I said, zlofany is now much better protected against like a Bloodlust draw, for example, just getting the board state back. Very nicely done from him on those last couple of turns. Looked like a pretty clean victory for him for the aggro warrior as well. And it's not a deck we've been seeing. We have seen Highlander Warrior, but just the straight of I play 2 ofs in my deck aggro warrior is not a deck that we've been seeing have too much success. You know, it's kind of confirmation bias in a sense, but obviously we follow the top of the brackets on stream, so we see the decks that are doing well, and we haven't seen that deck crop up yet. But also by the same token, zlofany is in that position. He is running that deck.
It's a cool deck, though, isn't it?
I mean, was Pirate Warrior a cool deck?
Well, I think it's a little bit more intricate than Pirate Warrior. Personally, I think it's a pretty cool deck. Score is now 1-1, though. Obviously, zlofany has evened the playing field a little bit. He's still got his Zoo and his very own aggressive Shaman deck up against Furyhunter, who still has his Shaman and also his Highlander Hunter. I'm quite looking forward to seeing that. Here it is.
Yeah, coming out here, his #1 go-to card is likely to be the Desert Spear if he can find it. He does not. He's sat on a pretty clunky-looking hand right now, although that Unleash that just found the way in on the far right. Oh, especially, speaking of far right, all right, Furyhunter is just a right-hand gamer right now, and just the cards that are coming out on the right-hand side are feeding him exactly what he needs. Now, there's a big decision point, though, as to whether he just wants to play that now as a 2/2 or hold it for the tempo swing, and I personally would favor holding it for the tempo swing with the Unleash the Hounds. Furyhunter disagrees.
There is a potential huge plus side if this survives this turn, which, as we can see from the Zap in hand, it's unlikely to. Although zlofany has a pretty tough decision to make. I was going to say he just passes.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely a pass on zlofany's side. He has coined Thunderhead Zap next turn, Okay. So like that hyena is still going to be a 2/2 on the next turn anyway.
Yeah,
there's 0 punish for just leaving it there, apart from just taking 2 damage. And I think 2 damage is a very reasonable investment for zlofany to put into this turn.
But now zlofany can do all of the things. Going to go with the Spirit of the Frog and pass. Really holding out for the big turn.
Now I think we've approached a little bit of greed. I think that looked like a Thunderhead Zap turn to me. That's a million damage you just took that turn that you could have cleared off from the board. No
obvious way of healing in the deck either. Obviously, there's evolve things that can happen, etc., but nothing obvious. So surely now it's time to clear the board.
I mean, I really liked the first hold on the Zap. I really did not like the second hold on the Zap.
I wonder.
I get what he's going for. Like, he wants to set up the Spirit of the Frog and then draw his Evolve off the 0-cost spells that he had. Just so happened he drew his Evolve naturally. And now he's going to use this to create the swing turn. But he's just lost half of his starting health in the process to set this up. And honestly, the Thunderhead on its own was just a pretty big swing turn on the turn that it came down.
Still holding off on the Thunderhead, interestingly.
Yeah, because he's going to take the Desert Hare Evolve turn this turn. Yeah. Really?
Would you not usually evolve first and then mutate whichever the bad outcome is?
Yes, that would be my stance on how to do it.
It's not... And as a result of that, he loses the Taunt and ends up with a pretty poorly started board, actually.
Yes, he nerfed his 4-drop that turn. As opposed to going the other way. Like, doing it the other way, you can look at like one of these 3/3s that you got and then upgrade them again and turn that into a 3/5, essentially. Like.
Down to 18 health again with no obvious ways of healing, and Furyhunter is faced with the decision. Does he continue to hit the face? Does he need to deal with this board? He's got the Eaglehorn Bow, which can help him out with that, and a secret. Obviously, Explosive Trap can stop some of this damage.
So if he pushes 5 this turn, then on the following turn he has, even if the Snip Snap is full cleared, then he has 5 more plus an Unleash the Hounds minimum. So he's looking at like a 3-turn setup, most likely, which makes sense as to why he played the Secret as opposed to pressing the Hero Power. So he's looking to get 2 damage from his Explosive Trap instead of the Hero Power, but that also gives him the extra bow charge that he needs to push the 3 extra damage that he's missing right now from Unleash the Hounds lethal.
Let's bring back any memory, Subtle.
No, because that card is terrible, and Grim Patron was good.
Yeah, and it makes sense to go for this.
I tried really hard not to stamp anyone's Sottle Talks About Patron bingo card, and then you had to bring it up. Like, come on.
Didn't you talk about it yesterday?
I tried some, probably. I don't know. That's why it's on the bingo card. I talk about Patron every day.
Every day of your life. Not just when casting either, just generally.
Just hanging out home with my wife. Just like, hey, you heard about Grim Patron Warrior? It was sick.
It does make sense for Furyhunter to go for this 3-turn lethal setup here. He does still have 30 health, although now it's a little bit concerning against zlofany. You know, a deck that plays Vasina, plays Bloodlust, etc. Although, Zephyrus, there are worse cards to get from the top of the deck, though. Is there a...
11 damage from Timberwolf off Zephyrus.
Oh.
It's come up before. I've got lethal with it before in this deck. That's why I immediately started counting it. Falk was giving me weird looks as I was just counting things on my fingers.
If he had 2 more mana and could squeeze in the hero power.
Yeah. I don't think it's there.
No, Fireball's only 9 damage.
Right, so what you do is you just deal the damage, and then the Zephyrus just gets you to reach over the top next turn.
Yep. zlofany does have 6 mana available to him next turn.
And then these 2 trade into a minion. Yep, perfectly done from Furyhunter. He only needs to set his opponent to 6 because he has Zephyrus Fireball on the following turn. And then with that card being a threat from zlofany, by putting a minion down at 2 health, that's 1 minion that can't connect face and the Bloodlust damage the other way.
If not for the Explosive Trap, this is 29 damage plus the Lightning Bolt.
Exactly.
So that would have just been lethal.
Yes.
Very well played indeed.
Really, really nicely engineered. I think this has been 3 very good turns in a row from Furyhunter. The recognition to set up the 3-turn lethal by going face, and the fact that he played the Explosive Trap over the Hero Power. And then the following turn, recognizing just, okay, I don't have the lethal here, just going through all the Zephyrus possibilities, so just setting it up, but also setting it up so perfectly that he defends himself from Bloodlust on the backswing as well. And then the third fantastic turn is going to be next turn, where he plays the Zephyrus and gets the Fireball and kills his opponent, which is pretty fantastic when your opponent explodes.
Well, zlofany going to go for it, realizing that whatever that secret is, it's probably going to shut him out of this game, as it does.
I hope you've counted this correctly, Falcon. Trust in you.
It's
8,
definitely
16,
not
22,
lethal now,
25.
that's what matters.
Yep. Zeffy baby gonna hand over the Fireball.
Nope.
All right, sure. He went down to 4 from the explosive trap.
I thought
Fine.
you knew Zephyrus.
I forgot. I forgot he took 2 damage from the explosive trap. Leave me alone. Very clean win. Yeah, really impressed with the way that Furyhunter played that game. It was a very short game, kind of simple looking on the surface, but it was definitely throwable. Like, you could have easily got yourself in positions as the Hunter there where you could have thrown that away. Do have some potential questions about the way that it was played on zlofany's side.
Yeah, the first few turns.
It started off greedy, and I was like, yeah, sick, he's being greedy, this is awesome. But then maybe it was just a step too greedy, where he took so much damage that he was always going to be in that kind of position, where Zephyrus would perhaps threaten lethal against him in various spots. Maybe the Thunderhead swing turn would just be good enough to then follow that up a turn or two later with the evolved Desert Hare stuff coming out from Spirit of the Frog. But who knows? Can't rewind the time. He's just now got a face down that he is, what, 2-1 down in the series now? Got to try and fight back?
That's right, 2-1 down. Still got his Zoo Warlock and his Shaman to win with on Furyhunter's side. It is only the Shaman remaining, so we're talking a mirror and then Shaman versus Zoo Warlock. Honestly, it's looking very good for Furyhunter at the moment.
It is, yes, not least because he just kind of has the best deck in the game, or the second best deck in the game, depending on who you're talking to, and he has 2 bites of the cherry to win with it. Like, even with a poor deck, when you have 2 chances to win, you're still in a favorite position, right? Like, if you have 2 45% matchups to try and win one of them, you're in a fantastic spot. If you're playing Shaman, which doesn't really have any 45% matchups in the game right now, then you're in a pretty amazing position as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, up against Zoo Warlock, which is a deck we've seen just a little bit of in this event, but not an overwhelming amount. I mean, again, it goes nicely with the rest of zlofany's lineup. Again with the aggressive warrior, he's gone for something a little bit different. Interestingly, I just had a look at zlofany's rogue, which was actually banned in this series. He runs Chef Nomi in his rogue.
He does, yeah. We've seen Myra's decks. Generally, they play one finisher, like one thing that pays off when you empty your deck. So that's either Zephyrus or Chef Nomi.
Yep.
Something to use as a function. They have different win conditions in different matchups, or different benefits in different matchups, I should say. But yeah, the rogue was banned in this series, and no surprise. So I was just looking at stats before I came out here, and right now, by a distance, rogue is the highest win rate class in this tournament. After 8 straight weeks of Grandmasters of just not seeing rogue, suddenly a little shake-up with Doom in the Tomb, and here we are. Rogue is the bring, apparently, to this tournament.
There you go. Well, the score is 3-1. That's not right. The score is 2-1 to Furyhunter. zlofany starting to make a little bit of a comeback. Maybe he did win the game with the warrior earlier. He's still got some work to do. We'll see how this series concludes after this. The score is 2-1 between Furyhunter and zlofany. zlofany got a lot of work to do to take the win with his Shaman and with his Zoo Warlock, but for Furyhunter, he's only got Shaman left, and Sottle, as you were saying, it's arguably the best deck in the game right now.
Yeah, even in this tournament, I believe it is joint second in terms of win rate behind Rogue, which is even more impressive when you consider that, like, there's basically two options coming into this, right? You're banning Priest or you're banning Shaman. So a lot of the time when the Shaman is being left up, it'll be against players who supposedly have a plan to beat it. So it's still achieving, I believe, 52% win rate, even in the light of decks that are supposedly just, supposed to be like built to counter it. Because in a lot of spots, like, it just has so many free matchups in the metagame right now. One of them being Druid, which it's kind of my job to just correct misconceptions.
Oh, here we go. You warned me about this.
I did warn you about this. This is why I looked up the stats to begin with. Druid's like Ravenman on the last series was like saying that, Druid was the bring, it's the nuts, it's such a good deck or whatever. Like, it's the second lowest win rate class in the entire tournament. And he also rolled out the, based on our one-game sample size, Druid beats Shaman. No, it's 37% over a large sample size in this tournament against Shaman. Like, Shaman crushes that matchup. Druid's bad. Druid is bad, Falk. That's the lesson here.
Got out your system?
One more.
Okay.
Druid sucks.
Okay.
All right, we're good.
All right.
Oh, we got a Flame Imp Echo.
Yeah, I mean, zlofany, quite the opposite of his game last time, where there was a lot of waiting around and sort of waiting for that combo on turn 3 or turn 4. He's just gone for it this time. Flame Imp, Knife Juggler, and it's down to Furyhunter to play it defensively, and he similarly has held back on the zap.
Yeah, this is exactly the same game state, except like replace Huffer with a Flame Imp. There's a 2/2 that has an effect, a snowbally effect for being on board, and then there's a thing that's hitting you in the face really hard in the early game. I do not imagine that Furyhunter is going to get super greedy here with this coin Thunderhead Zap that he has available to him, especially since the minions being added to the board can potentially pay off this Mogu Flesh Shaper for him as well.
It's slightly short, right? Unless he zaps the 1/3. If he zaps
you have
the
to zap the 1/3
oh,
to
that's
do
definitely worth it, though.
You can zap the 1/3 and then trade the 2 sparks into a Knife Juggler and then smack the Knife Juggler.
Oh, it's so good.
And then Mogu the whichever way you want to do it. Yeah, like it works.
Oh, this is filthy.
Yeah, right, obviously the 1/1's going to the flame.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. I knew I was missing something when I started explaining that. There's just a trigger in the back of my brain that's like, I've said something stupid, I'm just not quite sure what it was.
Okay, Magic Carpet Flame Imp is a combo. Doesn't look like it's enough right now, does it?
That turn very much looked like it ended the game from where I'm sat. You have a turn where you can kill this Thunderhead. Like, you ask permission to the Hearthstone gods to keep playing Hearthstone this series, and it's killing that Thunderhead. If you can't do that, you do not get to play anymore.
Yeah, once the Warlock has been sort of fought off of the board, there's a few comeback mechanics, but it's really not very good at that. Like,
right.
Plague of Flames can clear a board at some point. I don't know. Do you want to get back to talking about Druid?
Is he playing Plague of Flames in his list?
No, apologies. Okay. We saw a Zoo deck yesterday where the player was playing a Flame.
Okay. Yeah, it's very much a tech card. It's, I'd say maybe like 25 to 30% of the time you'll see one copy in there. But a lot of that will be down to your ban strategy as well. Yeah. Like, for example, if you're leaving up Priest, you will play Plague of Flames in your deck more often.
But there you go. There goes the carpet and everything, really. That's not the card that you need.
Excellent draw. Yep.
It's a 3-mana 4/5, something.
3-mana 4/5 that after this turn he's not going to be allowed to attack with anymore because he's going to... Yeah, exactly. There's the Bloodlust as well.
Yeah, do you want to get back to talking about Druid?
Yeah, Druid really sucks. I'm not really sure why. Like, I think it's just in this position where, in reality, Druid is like 49% in a lot of matchups, which, it doesn't do spectacularly well against anything. I think it just doesn't really fit into any conquest-style target, ban this deck, target something else strategy. I think there's always just, a deck that can threaten to come through to punish Druid. Like, it's not as bad as I'm making out. I'm just accentuating the point because Raven really likes it, and I just love disagreeing with Raven. It's a pretty safe bet. If you want to be right on a topic, just disagree with Raven.
When he's not on the desk with you, when he's not even in the same region as you, you still just have to disagree with Raven.
Yep, it's just the way things go.
Okay, well there's some gameplay happening this turn. Can deal with the 4-4 with the Soulfire or the Spirit Bomb, could Evil Genius, the Voidwalker for some lackeys, you know, that's something, but Bloodlust is looking like it's going to kill him next turn. Right.
The problem is that, like, these lackeys are the kind of outs he needs, but then he's going to Soulfire this turn and potentially discard, like, the key lackey that he'd end up needing. So it might have been a position where, like, discarding the Spirit Bomb. Even then, like, Spirit Bomb is one of the better cards he could have right now. So yeah, I think sequencing it this way so he ends up discarding a lackey is probably the best he could have done.
One off lethal with the Bloodlust. Guess Bloodlust Evolve could find a lethal this turn, but really Furyhunter's not in a hurry. The game is over next turn with Lickham anyway.
Is it just all 2-drops? 0.7% to roll a charge 2-drop.
Boogie Warrior, right. Yep. Is that the only one? Yes, it is.
Yep.
I got a rush.
Just click it a face, just in case the game bugged. Every single time. One of these days it's going to happen.
Is it though? I don't think it is.
You might as well try, right? What's the harm?
Well, you're not tapping, and you're not playing Spirit Bomb. No, you're conceding.
Yeah, you are tapping. You are tapping the bottom right corner of your screen, and then the top option, and you're getting out of that series. Rough one for zlofany, because honestly, when you're at that 5-1 record that I believe both of those players are, that's kind of the bubble where you just need to win out from that position, because it is still a reasonably early loss in terms of tiebreakers, and even then extremely limited numbers of X2s go through the way the cutoff works in these situations. So that might just be the end of his tournament in terms of getting through the top 8 and winning it, but there's still, of course, prize money to fight for, even if you don't end up in that top 8 cup.
It's rough in these Swiss tournaments, like, you know, getting 1 too few losses, even though that can just be 2 losses. It's rough. It's a tough position to be in against all of these fantastic players. But let's look at the leaderboard for a second. Kin sitting on 7-0 alongside Orange.
Yes, indeed. Kin, the Olympic champion of Hearthstone.
Only gold medalist in Hearthstone.
Orange still as well, flying the flag 7-0 for the world's greatest redemption arc in Hearthstone history. And suddenly, if you look over there at spot number 10, a familiar face sneaking his way back onto the leaderboard as well. Hunter Ace creeping his way up to 6-1. But you can see what I'm talking about with, like, the X2 cutoff, where now a player who would have been right up there amongst the top standings is just not even featured on our top 16 graphic because he falls to that X2 record.
It's worth pointing out Monsanto as well, who I believe is the best performing Americas player here. I can't spot.
It's a bold call. There's an Eddie at 6-1 right there. So
sorry, but Eddie is already a Grandmaster.
So is Monsanto.
Oh, of course. I was talking to Gio about this, and I'm going to need to go and chat with her because I'm not sure what that was about. Okay, never mind. Never mind.
Monsanto did mention that actually one of the big reasons why he came out here was that since Hearthstone Global Games was announced, and the conditions to being chosen for that are a little bit nebulous. No one really knows what it is that comes in. About. So he's really like fighting to do everything that he can to be that representative, and obviously that's something that he's very interested in doing. So I think it was a last-minute decision for him to come out here.
For HGG, of course. That's where the
fix that for you, pal.
Yeah, Gio was saying, oh, he's locked in, and for some reason, without really thinking about it, it's like, oh, great, Monsanto's a Grandmaster. Of course he's already Grandmaster. Yeah, locked into HGG. Okay, we got there. On that note, we are going to call an end to this round. Lorinda and Raven are standing by to begin the next round of the Swiss.